Hello and welcome. Today we are going to talk about soul contracts, the agreements that shape our lives. Have you ever wondered why certain people in your life they really disturb you or you just have very triggering relationships? And then there are times when you just see someone and you either really like them or dislike them and you don't even know why. So today we'll start exploring all of these soul contracts, like what's really happening behind the scenes here. Now, these soul contracts can cause us to repeat painful things over and over again. You might have felt that yourself as well, that there is a pattern in your relationships. The first relationships that you've had, maybe there was some toxicity in there of some kind, and it's essentially the same thread that you've moved along because you're trying to learn from that relationship. You're trying to evolve in that lesson. And it's not just your relationship, you'll feel the pattern also with your job or whatever work you're doing. There will just be a pattern where you'll feel like this was always hard for me, this was always easy for me. So, we're going to talk about all of these invisible knots, all these repeating patterns, all these difficult relationships where you might otherwise feel powerless or confused. We're actually going to understand how to shift from that victim space. Like sometimes it can feel like, why is this happening to me? What can I do about it? And we'll shift from that victim space to an empowered space where we will actually be able to look at these soul contracts, understand that they're there, and then heal them so that we actually are in control of our lives. So, before we begin, if you are new here, I am Kanika. I'm an energy coach and an Akashic Records reader. And if you like content like this, please subscribe so that we can stay connected. Okay, so getting to it, I wanted to bring your attention to a quote. This comes from Dr. Brian Weiss. He's a renowned psychiatrist and he is the author of Many Lives and Many Masters. And he said, before we are born, we choose our parents, our family, and the circumstances of our life. These are the contracts our soul makes to help us grow. So, you see, that's why soul contracts are really important to understand. They help us understand the bigger picture around our relationships. Instead of just wondering, why is this person always triggering me? Why does my partner always keep putting the toilet seat up? Why does my son always have to behave in a certain way? We can actually have a higher understanding of it, understand the why, what is it that they're trying to show, and approach the whole situation with greater compassion, greater clarity, and also move on from that experience that you don't like. So let's start with just understanding what are soul contracts anyway. So, soul contracts are your pre birth agreements. So, you are the soul, remember, the soul that has a body. You incarnate on earth. Now, before you come, so let's say you're up here floating and you are the soul. When you are deciding to come to earth, there's a specific purpose that you choose to come here. And there's some soul agreements you make. Soul agreements are like mutual agreements. You meet your partners, you meet your parents, you meet your kids, especially all the key relationships. You meet those people and you say, hey, you and I, we will be together and we will work through these issues, or these things are what I want to learn. So you actually have agreements, they're mutual agreements. You may or may not like them. Like you might wonder, why did I choose this partner? Why did I choose my parent? Or my kid annoys the hell out of me. And that's all okay because that is a body experience. But your soul made those agreements because the soul wanted to evolve. The soul and the body, they're a little bit different. They have different ideas. Let me explain that. Your soul, it's coming to earth because it wants to evolve. It wants to learn about something. So for soul, growth is very much about expansion. It's about exploring everything. Let's say if it wants to understand love, it will want to understand love in the sense of loving with one person, having a lack of love with the person. Then it wants to understand, okay, what happens in terms of loving with the community, with the business, with a family. And it wants to explore all sides of it. It's almost like it's doing a thesis in love. In the body, we are wanting to typically have one outcome. Maybe we are seeking a relationship which is loving, which is fulfilling, or we are in good sync, right? And that's what your body is wanting, what you want to experience at this level, physical level. The soul wants to do that, but for soul, it's like, hey, I'm here on earth and I can now experience so many things. So I want to experience a lot of other things. It's not that the soul wants to deprive you of pleasure, and it's not that it's against you, it's fighting you or anything. It's just that it wants to experience a lot of things and it wants to expand and grow more into harmony. The purpose of the soul is not to take you through all the downturns and just go into a horror ride and take you from one abusive relationship to another toxic relationship. That is not the purpose of the soul. The soul's actually wanting to rise up and become more and more harmonious, understand a whole lot of the things, and yet be able to see through it and then just rise above that level. That's how the game goes. The game for Earth is we tend to feel like we are stuck in the cycle of control and lack, but where the soul wants to go to is expansion. Soul is not thinking in terms of lack or control at all. Soul, at its soul level, understands that everything is possible. So it just wants to experience that in the finiteness of the body experience, but it wants us to come to a level where we are not affected by it, where we have evolved from it. Soul is wanting to bring our body into a lot more balance, and whatever lack, whatever punishment that we are feeling, soul actually wants us to be able to heal that and evolve from that. And hence the body and the soul, they can really work very well together, because all the time what the soul is doing, it's showing you the next chapter. What it's trying to tell you is that the more you evolve, the more you actually expand, the more of the flow in life is available to you. I'll give you examples, right? Let's say you are stuck in a very sticky relationship where you are financially dependent on your partner and you don't want to break out of it. And you have a million reasons for that, like it doesn't feel good. What are you going to tell your family or friends? And how is it going to work out? And then you depend on the person as well. What the soul is wanting you to do is trust that you don't have to stay in a limiting relationship because you are lacking the ability to make money. Soul is actually wanting you to connect with the fullness of yourself in the body. And hence, the soul is creating this situation and actually making it more and more, perhaps even intolerable for you, because it's urging you to step out. It's wanting you to take that step. It is really trying all that it can to help you make the step. Sometimes it's going to make you uncomfortable so that you actually get so annoyed and you walk out of it. What the soul is wanting to do is connect you with your inherent power of creativity, because you are abundant. And so it's bringing you out of that situation and then telling you, well, you have the ability in you to be able to earn money, and you don't have to be stuck or limit yourself in a toxic relationship if that is not working out well for you. So that's how the soul contracts are really working. It's actually trying to work hand in hand with you to help you grow. But the relationship in the body doesn't always seem like that, because we can feel as if we are being punished. We can feel as if we are the victim, especially if we have relationships that are just like bad and then worse and worse. It really feels like we are the victim, but it couldn't be further from the truth, because your soul is actually trying to show you the next lesson, and it's trying to get you to the next lesson. Not because it does not like you, actually, because it loves you so much and it wants you to step into abundance and light. Soul contracts are these pre birth agreements that you have with your key relationships before you get born, because there's something mutual that you decided to work together. Even if you didn't like your parents, even if you didn't like certain things about them, the whole idea of contrast is so that you can learn and you can expand. If I give you an example from my own life, I am, as a soul, someone who is very much for freedom. Freedom is a very big value for me, to be able to let you do and be however you want to be. And I was born in a very traditional family. Now, one part of me used to wonder when I was little, like, why did I choose this family? Because I could have chosen another family that would be a lot easier with all the things that I wanted to go out and do. But as I understand it now, the reason of choosing a traditional family was to experience the contrast. It was to experience what it feels like to be limited in that way, to truly be able to understand what is it that I'm truly passionate about, what truth is that I really stand for. So if you look at your own life as well, you'll start understanding the themes too, especially the areas where you felt really challenged with your key relationships. Instead of wondering why in sense of a lack, as if you had no choice and you got stuck onto it, think of those in the sense of, well, what is it that as a soul you are learning? Because that is exactly the place, and feel that power and freedom in your body right now in this physical experience. Now, the other thing that I wanted to touch here with soul contracts was karma and also destiny. Like, how are these different? So, soul contracts are very much your mutual agreements with someone. You actually decide with your partner that, hey, I want to learn about lack in love. So, you do such and such. And there's that agreement. And in the body, you totally forget. And you might just get so mad with the other person that how could they do that? But reality is, you wanted to learn something with each other. Those are soul contracts. Karma works a little bit differently. You are learning about the consequence of something that you did in this lifetime or previous lifetime. So let's say you have caused harm to someone. Maybe you've killed someone or you have taken away some money from them, whatever that is. You want to learn the lesson to really understand the consequence, develop the empathy, because that is what the soul is about, right? Like understanding the other side as well, experiencing all the dynamics and fully integrating it to know what is the best harmonious path forward. So that is what you are trying to do karmically. And that sounds almost about the same as a soul contract, except it's a little different. So, soul contracts are your mutual agreements with one or two people, and you've all decided together. In a karmic contract, what might happen is that maybe you've learned your lesson, but someone else got impacted because of your action. Maybe you took away money from someone. Now they're still carrying the energy from there. So it is this energy balance that you're working out with. And it doesn't just have to be one person, it could be a group of people if you've impacted them. There could be karmic lessons that you are learning as a family. There could be karmic lessons that you're learning as a country as well. So karma is a little bit different because of the interplay with everyone. But the good news is that whether it's a soul contract or whether it's a karmic contract, a karmic knot, you can unpack and heal yourself from all of those. Now, moving to destiny. Destiny is what your soul really wants to do. It's like the bigger purpose that the soul has here. Typically, where you feel like you're getting called for something, especially spiritual people will often tell you, and this is my story as well. I feel like I started doing all of this more openly because I was just really getting the soul calling. So this was a soul purpose. I didn't pick it up in the body. It is just my soul purpose to do that. So that is the destiny, right? It's destined for me. So destiny is going to be something that just feels a little bit bigger. And that is the entire purpose of why you've been born. Destiny points are things that you just have to go through because that is what your soul really wants to do. That explains your destiny, that explains karmic knots and agreements as well. Now, the important distinction here again is free will. How does free will come into picture? Like, how come you have all these soul contracts and then you still have free will? So soul contracts are your mutual agreements. Similarly, your karmic knots, it's something that you've done. Karma is your energetic balance. So you still have free will within the constraints of those. And whether that is soul contracts or whether that is your karmic knots, You can heal it. You can bring it to a place so that you are not acting from past time. If you've learned a lesson, you don't still need to keep on repeating that karmic loop. If you have evolved in your relationships, you do not need to keep operating from the previous soul contracts. That's all possible. So you still have free will. You just need to take agency and you need to be in that empowerment mode that you are the one who decides for you. So, whenever anything is happening for you, my encouragement to you is just think of why is it happening to you? What is the learning that you have here? Now, let me talk about soul contracts in challenging relationships. Like, why do we have these challenging relationships anyway? Why do we have relationships or contracts with people who would hurt us? Reality is that we have these contracts because we actually, as a soul, made an agreement with them. There was something that we wanted to learn around boundaries, around self love, around compassion, around strength. So we agree with these people that they will play that difficult role. But the good news is that we can break and we can rewrite these contracts. So we can do that through healing, we can do that through conscious intention, and we can do that through spiritual work. My work as an Akashic Records reader, typically one of the first things that I do is I look at the soul contracts and karmic agreements and clear those. Now, special mention here around any toxic or abusive dynamics, like especially if you've been really hurt at a physical level or an emotional level, like very deeply, there's a part of you that's then wondering, why would you have the soul contract? Let me tell you what's really going on here. Chances are that it's not just a soul contract that you're operating out of, because soul contracts are very much mutual agreements. But here you're operating from an imprint. You're operating from a bug or a glitchy system, and that is showing up in your space. Let me try and explain what I mean by imprints or programming. So think of an apple, and that'll make sense in just a minute. Think of an apple, break it into like 1,000 pieces. If you pick one piece out, that piece, that paper thin slice, is you in the body right now. That's an extension of your soul. The soul is the apple. Yeah. Now, depending on the lifetimes that you've had, your apple, your soul might have had some imprints. There might have been situations where you died in a war, or just something really traumatic happened to you, or someone punished you, there was some black magic going on, etc. And so your apple, as such, that got scarred. So think of the apple now, and you can just imagine it having some cuts on there. You can imagine it being rotten in some spaces. And so if you cut the slice of this apple again, if it's not looking too healthy when you take that out, you'll notice that this piece, this slice, is not very healthy. And that's your current lifetime. So sometimes the stuff that is happening, like especially the toxic, abusive dynamics that are happening, they're a result of what has been going on in the apple for a very long time. So that's a result of the soul imprint. That's a result of the soul programming. Like there has been just so much trauma, so much scarring that has happened to your soul that it's really gotten impacted by that. Like it really feels whacked. But here's the good news: no matter what is going on in your life right now, it is possible to bring your soul back to its divine blueprint. Through inner work, it is possible to bring it back to its wholeness. So if you have had soul imprints or scars, or you've been attacked by other darker entities, it is possible to come out of it. It is really possible to heal the apple as well. This is one of the main modalities that I do in my reading and healing work. One of my specializations is helping you restore your soul back to its highest divine blueprint and clearing all the wax and energetic imprints that your soul has, so that in your current life, you're really operating from a very healthy space and you feel a lot more abundant and empowered. So, moving on, I've talked a lot about relationships. Let me talk about parenting and soul contracts. How does that work out? So here's the interesting thing. At a physical level, we think like, oh, the child's a little baby, and the parent thinks, I have to look after the child, and the child always needs care. But it couldn't be further from the truth at the soul level. Because both souls, especially all your key relationships, it doesn't matter how they're looking like in the physical life, in terms of the soul consciousness, you're both learning from each other. Your soul relationship with your child will typically be one of teaching, where you're teaching them certain things because they are learning from you, and then you are learning from them as well. And that could be a variety of things. It could be around being happy. It could be around doing things differently than what you wanted. So maybe you never got to follow your dream. Maybe you just had to pick up a career that you were told to. But maybe your child will go ahead and pick up a career that they want to. So you get to witness another life. So parent and child relationships, that's just so sacred because you get to follow another lifetime so closely. You really get to see it bloom. And a lot of times they're going to challenge you. A lot of times you're going to question, like, what's really happening? Are they doing the right thing or not? And you might also act out in certain ways. But what you're really getting a chance to do is watch another life blossom and to see how they unfold their life. If you have neurodivergent kids, or if you have kids with special needs, then there are other layers onto your relationship as well. You're learning about love in a whole different way. Maybe you're somebody who's really liked perfection. Maybe you're somebody who's really valued yourself through achievements. For you, maybe in the past, it has been a lot about how many certificates you got, what grades you got, etc. But especially if you are dealing with kids who are thinking differently or who are just born with different patterns, then you are experiencing loving and validation in a whole different way. You are rewriting your own concepts of validation. So you're shifting your whole concept of validation. You're really shifting your whole concept of how you see and value yourself as well. So, if you were thinking earlier in terms of grades, like how it looked on the outside, now you are encouraged because of this relationship to think about, you're really starting to understand love at a much deeper level. You're starting to understand more selfless love, less from the outside world, like what looks perfect, but you're starting to tune in to your child in a different way that they understand. So it's a very good awakening journey that you are having because you are learning to also re-look at yourself. You're also breaking generational cycles because things haven't been done a certain way in your family, and now you are the one who's going to do them a lot differently. Although at one end it might seem as if you are the one who's looking after your child, but it couldn't be further from the truth because energetically, both of you are teaching, both of you are growing. All your soul relationships, your key relationships, you're all growing and evolving. That is the common thread. Especially the more and more you tune into your near and dear relationships, like you start looking at parenting like that. How are you both learning together? What are your kids teaching you? It will allow you to connect at a much deeper level with your kids, with a lot more compassion, with a lot more acceptance, not just about them. On the surface, it feels about them, but it's really going to be about you yourself. You will actually feel that you've just evolved and grown so much as a human being by being their parent. Okay, so by now, perhaps you're wondering, how can you look at soul contracts? How can you start healing soul contracts? And how can you unpack the karmic knots? You want to really rewrite your contracts, your agreements, and empower yourself. Move from that victim mode to the place where you feel like, yes, I'm in charge and this is how I want my life to play out. So, I do have good news for you. I have a freebie which is called Soul Contracts and Parenting. It is a 3-part audio series. You'll be meditating with me for just about 10 minutes a day. I'll help you see the soul contracts that you have with your kids, and then you'll unpack that. Then I'll help you see what are your karmic contracts with your kids, and then we reset that as well. And then there's a final meditation to be able to reintegrate it and then set your relationship to a vibration that you like. Maybe with your kids, you've been experiencing a lot of drama, a lot of friction. And if you want to change that to connection and love and joy, then that is what this meditation series will do for you. So you can find this at artoflifecenter.com/parent. It's absolutely free. Feel free to check it out. I'll also leave a link for you in the show notes so that you can enjoy this beautiful series and just have deeper compassion and a much more enriching experience with your kids. So, when you start looking at your relationships, not from this life level, but from a higher level of soul contracts, you really start understanding your relationships at a much deeper level. Here's what shifts. Let's say with your child, you have constant battles around homework or constant battles around them just cleaning up their room. Now, when you are looking at it from a daily life perspective, the things can feel really charged. But the soul contract actually helps you understand why your child's behaving that way. It helps you understand the energetic connection between you. Like, how are you connected? Is that connected on a frequency of love? Is that connected on a frequency of argument? It helps you see that and it helps you change that. So the moment you tune it away from argument to love or understanding, things shift. It's like suddenly you can talk to them and they can really hear you almost for the first time without interference. So that's how soul contracts work. And this is why you'll start noticing a lot of changes as well. The resentment that you feel in your heart or that they feel, that dissolves. You'll see that the pattern that used to really irritate you or the negative surge of energy that you felt inside, all of that will start shifting the more you understand the energetic connection with your child or your relationship. The whole relationship will shift and there will be more and more sense of peace in that lesson. So thank you so much for tuning in today, and I hope you enjoyed this understanding around soul contracts and how it really impacts your life today. If you are curious about exploring your own soul contracts in a lot more depth through the Akashic records, then I encourage you to reach out to me at artoflifecenter.com/reading. And I'll also leave a link for you in the show notes. See you next time with another episode. With lots and lots of love, I'm Kanika, your energy coach.